That was I Like It by Eagle-Eye-Cherry, the Swedish American alternative rock singer-songwriter shot to fame in the late 90s with his debut album, Desireless, which featured the planetary hit Savetonight. He went on to top the charts with other hits like Falling in Love Again and Are You Still Having Fun? And he's back with a new album. It's called Back on Track. It will be out on January 27th, and I'm super excited to say he's in the studio to talk more about it. Thank you so much for being with us today on France 24.
Nice to be here.
And congratulations on the upcoming album out in January. So it's called Back on Track. What does the title refer to? Did you fall off track at one point?
I think it speaks for itself. I mean, it's multidimensional. Back on Track is me getting to a point after my third album and 7 years of touring from Desireless and Savetonight and that madness and that ride that it gave me, coming to a point where I just had enough. Been on the move for too long. And I thought I'd take a little break, which ended up being a very long break. And there were points where I wasn't even sure if I was going to keep doing what I'm doing, at least as a front man. I was thinking maybe I'll make music behind the scenes. But I started missing touring, and then I started getting back into it. And then I released the album 2018, Streets of You, and I really loved it. And the ride we had with that was fantastic. And we toured for about a year and a half. And after that, I wanted to just go straight in, make the new album, and get back out. And then something came in between.
What was that?
A pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
So that put a stop to everything. So we had to kind of put the album on the shelf for a while and wait it out. And it was a long wait for all of us. I mean, just, it affected everyone's lives. And when we kind of got the green light and things started coming back, and I had to give my album a title, and one of the songs on the album is called Back on Track, I was like, and I think this applies to everybody. It's starting to feel like we're actually getting back to normality.
Absolutely. You could have added the word finally back on track.
Finally back. That'll be my next album.
Yeah, exactly. So the 13 tracks on this album, the one we just looked at there, that was I Like It, talks about kind of burning the candle at both ends. The video it looked like it was a lot of fun to make. It seems like part of it's taking place in kind of like an Alcoholics Anonymous kind of meeting. Is it about battling demons? Is that what the song's about?
It's funny because when the director came with the idea for the video with the AA part of it, I was like, wait a second, the song is about the opposite, because it's about a time in my life when I was very young, had my first apartment in Brooklyn, and I was like 18, 19 years old, and it was just a party. It was just about hanging out with my friends and having a good time, and going out, listening to music, hanging out in the bars, going to clubs. And there's that period in your life where there are no consequences. You can just have a good time all the time, and you haven't gotten to the point yet where you realize there is a price to pay. You can't live this kind of life all the time. But I was kind of celebrating that period of my life when it really was. I had a great time. I have no regrets. But there came a point, which is when I ended up leaving New York and I moved back to Sweden because I'm half Swedish, and then ended up making my first album. But there was that point, so there's another song on the album that talks about that part, Done, 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 wanting to just get away from where you are, time to start a new life, But when he suggested that for the video, at first I was like, well, wait a second, that's not what the song's about. But then I realized that there is that contrast, and I like that in the video of that there is a consequence in the end, And
you always have to pay at one point.
At some point.
You mentioned going back to Sweden to write your first album. One of the tracks off that album became a planetary hit, Savetonight. You were barely 20 years old when you became this superstar. Is it hard to stay grounded when you achieve that level of fame at such a young age?
I was a little older than 20, actually.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a great question, because I see, like, my sister's daughter, Mabel, is having a major, major career right now. And she had the song Don't Call Me Up, which is like streamed millions and millions of times. And I think because I'd grown up around music, my father was a jazz musician. My sister had a big breakthrough with Buffalo Stance and Raw Like Sushi. So I'd seen a lot of the music business from behind the scenes. And when Savetonight took off, which wasn't my plan, I was going to start a small career. I signed to an independent label in Sweden, and I was going to build slowly but surely. But when the song took off, I knew this doesn't happen.
Yeah.
We got to go for it. And I did all the work, and we went everywhere, and I was working very hard and doing a lot of promotion and gigging and everything. But at least I was aware of the fact that this is a moment, and it might not happen again. We got to go for it. And I think a lot of young artists might not realize that. So I'm really thankful for that, because I could see that I probably would have been like refusing to do things and not wanting to do some promotion or whatever. And then you end up regretting that later. So
once in a lifetime
yeah,
experience.
I mean, that was an insane ride.
Well, let's listen to the song. Some of our viewers might not have heard Save Tonight, which seems crazy to me, but here's a track, Save Tonight, if you haven't heard it.
Let's delay our misery. Save tonight. Fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone. Save tonight. Fight the break of dawn. Come tomorrow. Tomorrow I'll be gone. There's a log on the fire, and it burns.
So Save Tonight, Eagle-Eye Cherry's signature hit. Do you ever get tired of that song?
No, it's like my best friend, you know, what we were just talking about. It's funny when I see the video and I'm wearing glasses there in the deli, and I didn't have glasses in those days, and now I got those exact glasses on.
It was a prophecy.
No, I love that song, and thank God, because it's like, when I play it, I think that the simplicity of the song, 4 chords from beginning to end, and lyrically there is depth in it. You know, even though it's a catchy pop song, a lot of people can relate to what I'm talking about in that song. And that to find that balance. And the other thing is that the song has stood the test of time. And even sonically, the sound, it's like it still sounds fine. You know, it doesn't sound like, oh, that's the 90s. I still think it sounds fresh. So I'm really thankful for that.
It's a great song. It certainly is.
Thank you. You're just saying that because I'm your guest.
No, I love that song because it reminds me of a time in my life as well. I won't mention my age.
Thank you.
So you mentioned that you come from a musical family. So your father, Don Cherry, a famous jazz trumpetist. Your sister, you mentioned her as well, half-sister, Neneh Cherry, hip-hop singer. You mentioned that the touring part influenced your life and seizing the moment when you had your big break. Has it also influenced your creative process, coming from a musical family?
I would hope so. I think choices I made also musically, I didn't choose the road of jazz because I felt like those shoes are very, very hard to fill. But that was something that my father talked a lot about, and he was very good with when he worked with musicians, and I'd watched him, is he was often able to help people to find their own voice, because when you're getting into music, you listen to a lot of things that influences you. But to find who you are musically, that's the tricky part. And that's what I often tell people when I give advice is, you know, when you go out there, you only have one chance at first impressions. You've got to make sure it's right. And when I discovered the acoustic guitar, and that kind of was the key to finding what I wanted to do musically, and then I ended up just going down that road, you know. So I think definitely, and then the live thing of just the priority at the end of the day for me is playing live and getting on the road. And when I'm writing and recording, everything is about, you know, getting that music to the stage. So I write songs with that in mind. I want a song for my set list, so I write it, you know.
And you mentioned that getting back on stage, touring was one of those things that made you want to come back after your break. So you came back with the album Streets of You, that was in 2018, and you started by playing smaller venues again, kind of working your way back up after having played huge venues before. What was that experience like?
Well, I had to, because I've been gone for so long. No, but I've always loved, I mean, even when I was, you know, when we were hitting it big, you know, different countries were on different levels of success. So it was kind of jumping from playing a massive gig to a small gig. And I just love gigs, and I actually like the more intimate setting, because you can actually see the people and you can have more contact. And even as a concert goer, I love smaller clubs. But the thing for me is, you know, just give me a stage and I'm a happy man, you know. But it is amazing to when you've taken a long break, to get back out there and just kind of get back in contact with what music's really about.
So you'll be here in Paris in February, for anybody watching who's here in Paris, February 17th at La Maroquinerie, which is one of these nice, intimate venues. Now, if I understand correctly, we're going to talk not about music, but about football, soccer, as we call it in America. Here you're a fan of soccer.
Yes,
World Cup.
I play a lot of soccer.
You play a lot of soccer. Well, that's a fun fact. The World Cup has just kicked off.
Yeah.
Do you have a favorite team?
Well, I'm half Swedish, but they're not in it this year. They didn't qualify, so.
But America did. Well, the U.S. did.
Yeah,
right?
U.S. did. I'll watch U.S., but I had, because the U.S. never really has been a real football country, or soccer. They have their football. I haven't been able to have that relationship because you don't have the club, it's just not the same culture. But I'll be watching them. But I follow a lot of Premier League, English football, and my sister lives there and her husband's English, so I'll be watching them as well. And then we all love watching, see if Brazil are good or not this year and stuff like that. But it's a weird one this year, so I'm not as excited as I usually am. And I'm going to the States very soon. So the timing's going to be horrible. So I don't know when I'm going to watch the games.
Big time difference.
It's going to be a mess. So I've kind of just come at peace with might not be a World Cup that I'll be following the way I usually do. And it's the wrong time of year. It's supposed to be summertime. We're supposed to be off watching football. So.
And usually you're an Arsenal fan, though, right?
Yes. You've done your research.
I have.
And Arsenal's having a good season this year after many years of hell.
Eagle Eye, thank you so much for being with us on France 24. Your guitarist, Anders, is going to join us on set. You're actually going to play us out with a track off your new album. The album is called Back on Track. It's out on January 27th, and you're going to play us the song Rising Sun. For more arts and culture news, head to our website, stay in touch on social media, and stay tuned to France 24. More news is coming up right after this.
So long, I can't believe this day has come. Feels like yesterday, it's you and me together all for one. Hold on to memories that keep us strong. Tomorrow I will try to face another day now that you're gone. You and me is one together in my dreams. We stay forever young. I feel you in the rising sun. Wide awake, but still not better. Dream me back to days when we were young. I feel you in the rising sun.